What's up, folks? Welcome back to another episode of All Things Baltimore Sports. This is Foul Ball Talk with Tim Malarkey. Tim, what's going on, man?
Trig, what's going on, brother?
I am having technical difficulties on the laptop. I've been trying to troubleshoot. We've been kind of BSing with our guest. We got a very special guest into the Orioles game that's currently going on. We're making a comeback right now, but we have former Orioles pitcher, Major League pitcher, of the early 2000s era with the Baltimore Orioles, Josh Towers. Josh, what's going on, man?
What's up, boys? How are you?
Looking good, man. It's good to see you. We haven't, been on screen, to talk in a while. The last time I did an interview with you, I was still doing pre-recorded stuff and nothing live.
It's been a minute, man. It was in the beginning days. It was the early days.
It was definitely the early days, man. It's been quite the adventure. The show's going well. Tim is my Orioles correspondent for the 2024 season. So it's been a little bit of a bumpy start for our boys. They finally bit the bullet and brought Jackson up. We weren't expecting him up until closer to the All-Star game. We talked about that last week, Tim.
Yeah.
It's been one of those situations where we just kind of got to, we were just accepting the fact that we were going to be seeing Tony Kemp and Ramon Urias at second base every single day. And they DFA'd Kemp, and Jackson, first play in, makes a double play. He's gotten on base tonight, and he looks like he's got a little bit of the jitters. Just for the people that are listening and watching, what was it like when you made your Major League debut?
Me, it was great. Like, I remember, you're nervous for sure. I don't know if it's any different for hitters, but I remember coming in as a reliever. I was coming in from center field, and Ben Grieve for the Tampa Bay Rays was standing on second base. Vinny Castillo was batting. And when I ran past Ben Grieve at second, like, he looked like he was 10 feet tall. Like, I remember running by, just kind of looking up like, oh, my God, that's Ben Grieve. Like, it was like, there's no way this is real. It still seemed very fake. I still felt like I was playing a video game, man. Like, Cal Ripken standing on the mound with, I think, I want to say Segui. It was surreal, and God, you're so nervous. And I remember Vinny Castillo swung at the first pitch and popped up, which was huge because, like, I needed to get that over. And I think I told you before, Cal comes over and sits next to me on the bench and puts his hand on my chest, and, it's moving pretty good. And he's like, I think you'll be all right. But Rip was such a good guy. I like doing that. He was trying to help me relax to get ready for that second inning after we hit. And, he understood how hard it is with the nerves, but it's crazy. Little different. I got to imagine you're still working your tail off to get to the major leagues. But for this dude, his dad's played in the big leagues for a long time. He trains in the off season with all these major leaguers. He had an amazing spring training. He's pretty prepared for this, and kind of like what Adley did and what I thought Bryson Stott did with the Phillies. He embraced, and he's very young, don't get me wrong, but they embraced the minor leagues, and they were willing to stay down there and accept what it was. They didn't care to get rushed to the big leagues, and I feel like even though he came up rather fast, I feel like Jackson's the same way. He was down to appreciate the journey of what minor league baseball means to becoming a very good and successful Major League Baseball player, and I respect that.
Well, and you had also had to make that long trout from the bullpen all the way to the mound too. So you got that, that little bit of a jog to kind of think about
even more nervous.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That adds to it for sure. I bet.
Yeah. Again, you would hope that jog would calm you down, but it didn't. It just the anticipation. And again, a lot of us went through and had these dreams, man. You want to be a Major League Baseball player so bad. It's the only thing I ever wanted to do. And you can't believe it's here. You can't believe that moment is right now. Like, it's so surreal. What a cool experience.
I did want to ask you about it a little bit more, because it seems like the Orioles kind of participated in dirty politics with Jackson coming out of spring training, where they were trying to manipulate the service time. And it seems like now it was more of a panic call up than a actual wanting to call him up for him to be here.
What do you mean by that, Mike? What do you mean by a panic call up?
Not necessarily. I guess maybe because we were not winning as many ball games as we were initially planning on winning, and I guess we weren't getting a whole lot of production at second base, and they made the call for him to come up. He deserved it. I'm not saying he didn't deserve it. He definitely deserved it. He was hitting .333 in the minors. He had 2 home runs. He was playing fantastic defense, but it seems like we could have avoided this whole why send him down if they would have just kept him on the major league roster from opening day.
Got you. I think it goes like this, right? I think he shouldn't be in the big leagues. I think Churio with Milwaukee shouldn't be in the big leagues. Listen, the way we altered the draft and how we now structure it and the limited amount of money and how we only have 20 rounds, which is terrible for baseball. It's really bad for our game. We're rushing all these kids to the big leagues who shouldn't be there. And they need to stay down and get seasoned. They need this. And the more guys we rush to the big leagues, the worse it's going to be for them and their careers. And I think with this particular case, I think they kind of understood that. But you also feel a little bit of pressure from the outside, from the media world and for other areas, like to rush these guys to the big leagues. And I got to be honest, man, as a GM, as people running it, I can care less what anybody thinks. I don't care if anybody thinks I'm holding these players down because I'm trying to keep their service time or manipulate their service time. I don't care what anybody thinks. And I should never, as a front office personnel, even consider responding to it because we have a business to run and we're trying to win games as well. And so I personally think a lot of these guys shouldn't be in the big leagues. I don't think Jackson should be there. I don't think a lot of guys should be there. I think they're rushed. And all the fans that snivel about it, it's like, listen, man, do you want look what happened to Chris Bryant. I mean, sure, he got $180 million from Colorado. He's not very good, y'all. He's not a good baseball player. He had 2 good seasons, his first year and his second year, and that's it. And so where's Chris been? And they all snivel. That was the big one. Oh, you're going to hold him down. You're going to hold him down, manipulate his service time. And Chris had the 2 good years, and then he's been nothing ever since. And how well is it working out for longevity? And that's more of what we're talking about. I would like to have a guy. I want Adley. I want Gunnar. I want Jackson. I want all these dudes to play 15 years as an Oriole or in the big leagues. But rushing them to the big leagues will prevent against that. And so I think, listen, we need to develop. You need to learn how to start and finish something. You need to learn how to see something through. You need to learn how that just because you had a good month doesn't mean you get promoted right away. There's got to be reasons for it. And you're going to fail, all right? So would I rather have, oh, my God, look at Alek Manoah in Toronto.
Yeah.
I'd rather have you fail in the minor leagues and learn something about it, or do I want you to fall in flat on your face in the big leagues and have nowhere to go but a demotion, and now you don't know what to do? Alek walked 4 guys in a row, 16 balls on 18 pitches the other day in his rehab stint. He's lost right now. I would love to speak with the kid. And so that's what we risk by rushing these guys to the big leagues, is not understanding that failure is a part of it. Adversity is a part of it. It is what it is. And we have to learn to earn this, man, and work through it. But we're not doing that. We're rewarding these guys just for being the first pick in the draft, just for having a good month, just for having a good game, just because somebody wrote that you're supposed to be a stud, that you're a pro, whatever the case may be. Again, I think we're rushing these guys way too quick. I would rather them have longevity than hurry up and see them in our cities. Last thing on this, you do have the luxury, again, with guys like Jackson Holiday, that his father played as long as he did, that his father is still heavily involved in the game, not only at the professional level, but at the minor league level, the high school, and the collegiate level. And so he's seen all the different correlations of amateur to pro ball and everything in between. He's very lucky to have that. The Orioles are very lucky he has that.
Yeah, it's almost like he kind of has it's not kind of like he has sort of not even just a head start, but like an insider. It's like an insider trader information.
100%.
Like he has guidance that, some of these kids that come from these small towns whose parents have never, even had to deal with half of even the business side of things like this. he has all of that supporting him. And since, you know, I know you wanted to touch on that a little bit, just since this is also a topic that I wanted to bring up with you and is sort of new to the game and that we're seeing a lot lately. And it's been in the media a lot lately, is with the pitch clock and the uptick in UCL and elbow injuries. Like, do you know, you'd be the one to ask, is there a direct correlation in this and not having rest time for these guys?
No, the pitch clock is such a benefit. It's such a pro for us pitchers. Like, it is something that we can use to our advantage so bad. And I've said the story a million times. The Baltimore Orioles, man, when I came up, we had Sid Thrift. He was our director of player development. And we had the 12-second rule. And what they learned was, if let's say I throw a fastball down and away and I get a swing and miss, if I can throw that same pitch within 12 seconds, the chances of me getting the same result, and they did studies on this, was like 95 or 96%. And so we were taught to work fast just based on that alone. And what I learned the next 16 years was the benefits of pitching fast and what it did to hitters and what muscle memory is, and what hitters' tendencies are and what their job is. Their job is to swing, not to take. It is such a benefit. And if they really wanted to get advanced with the implementation of, you get one time out as a hitter, you also incorporate the 20 seconds. And then how I use that to get the hitter to rush or get this guy, I get 3 pickoffs and I got a pitch. I can manipulate all that to control the running game even better than I ever did. But again, hitters' tendencies is swing, not take. And I'm in control of this now. So the shot clock has nothing to do with the UCL tears. I think that has a direct correlation to 2 main things. We see these guys training in the off seasons or being taught that you're going to go to these stupid lab places around the country and you're going to crow hop and throw into a screen as hard as you can and like, oh, 95, oh, 103.
Yep.
You're crow. Well, we don't pitch like that. What we do is ground up and inside out. I got to be in full, complete control of my body. And when we do that, there's no control. You're throwing uphill as hard as you can. Now, all of a sudden, we have to learn to throw downhill, and I got to have control of my body. Everything's got to be tied within. The core is a massive, massive part of this, and we're throwing that out the window. So you have the misinterpretation of the way we're supposed to train compared to how we're actually supposed to pitch. And then these guys aren't being allowed to pitch deep in games. 5 innings and you're pulled, 6 innings and you're a hero.
Yep.
So you're not allowing me to build any muscle memory. You're not allowing me to build any strength. I'm not getting on throwing programs. I used to tell John Gibbons, if you pull me after 5, Johnny, I don't have to go to the gym anymore. I don't have to do anything. Like, I don't have to work. I can be as lazy as I want because it doesn't take any effort to go 5 innings. And where I'm learning how to pitch, the game is where we show off how hard we worked when no one's looking. The 7th, 8th, and 9th inning is when the game's on the line. And you're never letting me pitch in these situations where I have to learn the game. I have to use my brain. I have to make stressful pitches or learn that they're not stressful pitches, but I'm putting that on myself. And you're not allowing me to pitch in these situations. And so you're taking all of this away. So these organizations are taking away what pitching deep in a game means, what innings mean to learning and to building arm strength. They're encouraging and allowing me to go to these stupid places all over the country and crow hop and do all this stuff. And none of this correlates into success as a pitcher or training to be ready. It's a bad formula, man. It's a bad recipe. And when you have a lot of people, and this is not being a hater, this is facts, but when you have a lot of people involved in the development and the rushing of kids to the big leagues who have never played, it's a bad recipe, and it's a bad remedy for success. And it's hard, and we're going to start to see it. This kid for Boston who pitched today, the starter, you're going to see him on that list. That dude in San Diego, Dylan Cease, you're going to see him on that list pretty soon too.
Yeah, I think I saw something that was like 70% since 2020 end up with either having elbow, problems, discomfort, whatever, hitting the IL for it, or actually needing to go in for the TJ. So
yeah, it's bad. There's a lot. It's not one particular thing, man. Trust me, it's not. There's so much, but there's 4 things that are vital to our success as pitchers, especially starters. It's your core, it's your rotator cuff, it's your throwing program, and it's your cardio. And if we're not running anymore, if we're not doing distance so that we can last a game, so that we can last a season, so I don't fatigue. I had this conversation with my son this morning. It was a long conversation. He's in college pitching. And I was explaining to him that his coaches and scouts out there, they don't realize that the way we trained, he'll get stronger as the game goes on. His velocity is going to increase. And as the season goes on, his velocity is going to increase. What you see with a lot of these guys is the opposite. As the game goes on, it goes down. And as the season goes on, it goes down. Well, we didn't train or prepare for that. We trained a completely different way. And I never got hurt. In 16 years, I didn't spend any time on the DL. So I learned a lot about how to keep myself healthy and how to protect myself against these things. And that's how I've always treated my son. And there's a kid at UNLV who he'll get drafted this year. He's been amazing. And I've trained him his whole life as well. And these guys, like I said, his coach doesn't know that. And a lot of other people don't realize that. And he's like, it's funny you say that. He said, because last Saturday in my game, the first 3 innings, I was 87 to 89.8. And then the last 3 innings, I was 88.1 to 92. And I was like, yeah, we've trained that. And so a lot of these guys running the development and the call-ups, the farm directors, et cetera, they don't know that. They don't know how to train, how to prepare. I can watch guys and tell you what you did in spring training or what your offseason looked like. I can watch and physically see the effort that you gave. But you have had to have done it to understand that type of stuff. And a guy like me, I'm not saying I know everything, but what I do know is I didn't have the luxury to strike you out. I didn't have that ability. So I had to learn how to pitch. I had to learn how to pitch to contact. I had to do these things to learn how to pitch. I couldn't just go, watch this, I'm going to throw it by you. And Cal Ripken made a point of that when Jim Palmer would give me advice all the time. Hey, remember, you and Jim threw the complete opposite. Jim can go back and strike you out. He can throw it by you. You don't have that ability. And so, again, I had to learn this stuff at an early age in the minor league and the big league system.
Hey, Josh, we got a question for you from one of our viewers, Zach.
Let's go.
Said, how do you feel about pitchers lifting like Olympic athletes nowadays as opposed to strength training?
Well, that's a big part of it too, right? That's a lot of the injuries as well. And so we got to factor in what these guys are doing in the offseason. A couple things I know. We don't do anything over our head as pitchers. We don't press anything over our head because it limits the motion and the mobility of this shoulder. So that's when I say inside out. We have to strengthen the internals of us and work out. But as a pitcher, what's his name, Zach?
Yes.
As a pitcher, Zach, we don't – if I take my shirt off and I look good in a mirror, I'm probably training my muscles wrong to be successful at throwing. So anytime you see pitchers or quarterbacks, we take our shirts off, we're not chiseled, man. We're not chiseled. You can't be chiseled and throw something. You lose that range of motion. And the bigger the bicep, the shorter my arm reach is going to be, the worse it's going to be for me. Again, this thing's got to go back. It's got to rotate up. It's got to lay dead flat. It's got to shoot forward. It's got to get extended. And so having muscles or training like CrossFit's one of the worst ways you can ever train for us as throwers. There's a way we train that's very bad for us as well.
Wow, that's actually informative. Most the common fans don't really understand because we're not no,
it's hard. I'll say this, man, and cut you off, Mike. I was with the Washington Nationals in 2009, and we brought in a strength and conditioning coach the first year. I don't remember his name, but he was the Baltimore Ravens strength and conditioning coach. And all spring training, we would do this crazy stuff. And I remember going to him one day, and I didn't have a name, right? I played enough, but I didn't have a name to where people were going to listen to me. I wasn't John Means or Machado. I didn't have a name where somebody was going to respect what I said, even though I was a veteran who'd been through this road. But I told him during spring training, I said, listen, bro, we're not football players. We cannot train like football players. These dudes don't throw anything. These guys are built to go through walls. They're in car collisions every single play. We are not that. You cannot train us to do this. And if you do, we're going to have more injuries than you've ever seen. Well, fast forward, we did. And fast forward, that guy ended up getting fired halfway through the season. He lost his job. He wasn't willing to adjust his style and understand what each sport and each position needs and does differently for their specific success. He didn't understand that training in the offseason and lifting was completely different than what I do in season. And because he wasn't willing, he was just in essence a person who went and got a degree on strength training in college and then thinks that everybody does that the exact same way. It's not that way. So we can lift and really put ourselves in bad positions.
Little update, Ryan O'Hearn just scored on a wild pitch.
Now I'm curious to the replay. I want to see what the catcher was. His knee down? Yeah, see his right knee?
Yep.
Again, when your knee's down and you can't slide left or right and you can't turn this body in a position where I can keep the ball in front of me. So with the knee down, what do? I can backhand or I can almost slide, but I get stuck. The other thing these catchers don't understand and these coaches teaching that, and I'm glad we just saw it, is when I know that you can't block very well because you can't slide into position, I'm going to really err on the side of I'm not going to bounce this breaking ball, even though it might be the right pitch, or I'm not going to bounce this changeup, even though it might be the right pitch, because I know the chances of you blocking it are slim because of the way you're sitting. So I'm going to miss in the strike zone a lot more because of that. And it's hard. And so we got to collectively work better together, but we don't.
Hey, Josh, we got another comment from Zach. He's asked if you ever worked out at the Bat Academy. He thinks he might have caught you one of your pen sessions because he worked with Steve Lombardozzi.
What is that?
It must be a baseball academy.
I've never been to an academy, I don't think. Where is it at? Do we know?
He didn't say the location.
I've been to a bar and grill in Kent Island, Maryland called Bat. I don't know if that's it.
I have also been to that bar.
Small
world, man. Very small world.
They're big Orioles fans too, but my ex-wife's family's from right there.
Okay.
But and Bowie's not too far. So if you go in there, you actually will see like your jersey of Bernsey behind you and these boys. You'll see those jerseys and photos and stuff that our Bowie team in '99 must have been when they opened. We all autographed all this stuff, and it's all on the walls and stuff. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Bowie's a beautiful stadium. I drive by that stadium quite often for work.
What a fun year, yeah.
What is it like, now that we kind of mentioned Bowie a little bit, what is it like, travel-wise? I know major league and minor league are completely different. Is the contrast that stark traveling?
Boys, I want you to watch the TV real quick. We're getting a surprise from Westburg. This might be big, Matt. Sorry to cut you off.
No problem.
It is.
It's in the chat, and it's from there. It is.
You're still ahead. My phone's got it already, but boom.
3-run jack from Westburg.
So you see that Fanatic sign behind where that ball went in center field? They'll show the replay of that home run, but you'll see in center field when the center fielder goes out, there's a sign way out there that says Fanatics. I watched David Segui hit one over that thing one time. It was the furthest ball I've ever seen hit. It was unbelievable. They say, oh, these balls only went 470. No, it was like 700 feet. It was far. You'll see it. Watch this replay, man. It's crazy.
Segui had crazy power. People forget about that.
He was a man. Yeah, there's a few men I played with. Conine, Cal, and Segui. They were men.
Conine. I can't remember who I was talking to the other day. And
watch this real quick in center field. Watch where this thing is. Oh, they're not going to show us. Sorry.
No problem. One of my best friend, he collects memorabilia, and he got a Jeff Conine jersey card in the mail that he ordered off of eBay. And I was like, I haven't heard Jeff Conine in probably 10 years being brought up in Baltimore, but he was a solid player, and he was a big dude.
Oh, he's a man. I learned a lot. I'm going to go back. I'll transition this to the question you asked, but I learned a lot from him and Cal Ripken. And when you shook hands, you don't miss, because if you miss, you're not getting this thing back. So you better get in there, or this hand is going to be limp and feel broke, because those guys, they were men, man. Like the way we look at our fathers, like I looked at those guys the same way. And like it makes you want to posture up when they come by. It makes you want to like go work. It makes you want to do something. Like these guys, they were a different breed, man. And God, I learned so much and have so much respect for guys like Conine and Ripken. But It's the same thing. You're talking about these levels of baseball, and I'm talking about Jackson and starting a season and ending a season somewhere. Like, you learn that just because you had a good week or a good month doesn't mean you have to get promoted. You're supposed to do well, right? Just because I had a good season doesn't mean that I should go. Like, somebody also has to get hurt or not do well. And if everybody's healthy and doing well, well, then you don't got anywhere to go, but your job is to do well. So, like, learning how to play a season somewhere, learning how to play in April when it's cold, and then it heats up a little bit, and then it's hot as you know what, and then all of a sudden it's cold again, and going through the slumps that you're going to face. You're going to face slumps, and having to make the adjustments of facing this guy, and then seeing this guy a week later, or seeing this guy in a month when he made an adjustment to who you are and he studied video or tape on you, and you got to go back and what happens on the adjustment tour. But if I keep promoting these guys, and then the next time I was going to face that team that I did well or didn't do well against, and the next thing you know, I'm promoted, so I don't get to make that adjustment. It's always a new endeavor, so I'm always feeling excited in essence, and I'm not worried about any negative adversity or anything. Then I'm taking away a lot of the development process that these kids go through. I'm taking a lot of the stuff away, and I'm not allowing them to grow up and become men. Just every time you do something good, here you go. Here's a cookie. You're rewarded. It shouldn't be like that. Like,
So
we have to face adversity. We have to learn a lot of things, and the hurry up and promote things takes a lot of that away. And we learn. We don't learn how to become, in essence, men. I think a lot of times where we have to face adversity, we're just constantly pushed through promotion because.
do you think that maybe they should have brought up another one of the minor league guys? I mean, arguably Stowers is older. Kerstad is a little bit older.
What's Stowers' first name?
Kyle
Stowers.
Kyle Stowers.
You guys are in a great spot, right? The Baltimore is in a great spot because they have more minor league talent than I think any organization has ever seen in baseball, right? So what do? There's not a room for everybody, and usually we don't have enough. There's not room for everybody. So what do? We can't bring them all up. Somebody's got to get promoted when somebody else doesn't do well. I can't bring up Jackson Hollidays and Gunnar Hendersons and sit them on the bench. No. They have to play.
Yeah.
So they're not bench dudes. So what do I do when I'm put in these situations as an organization? It's tough. So you have this amazing problem on your hands, but how do you deal with it when you've never really had to deal with it before? And so if Jackson's not going to play every day, you don't call him up. With that said, if he's ready for the big leagues and he's going to play every day, then you call him up. Bryce Harper was ready for the big leagues. Soto was ready for the big leagues. I think he's not doing that well now, but he was at the time. Like, what do? And so the Orioles are in the situation where I think last year came a year early, let's say maybe 2 years early. I don't think anybody expected them to do that last year. And I think the realness of no experience showed itself in the playoffs. So what does Baltimore do now? They have these expectations to win. So with that said, we need John Means back. You did a great job in going getting Corbin Burns. But if you believe in yourself, if you really believe that this is the team, every coach that I know that plays against the Orioles in the minor leagues, every one of them tells me this is the greatest team I've ever seen. Meaning whether it's their AAA team or their AA team, they always tell me, bro, they're Major League Baseball teams in AAA. They're loaded. So then what do? They're going to have to go and take some of these guys and go get Jose Barrios. They're going to have to go get a stud pitcher from some organization, make a blockbuster trade because you're loaded everywhere else. You got Jackson Holliday hitting 9, playing second base. You're in a pretty good spot. Now the Orioles have to win from here on out every single day. So what does this GM do to make sure that he does this and that he keeps all of these guys locked up for eternity? Are you going to have enough money in Baltimore to do this? Because guess what? Adley's going to need a contract here pretty soon, quicker than you think. And Gunner's going to need it. And Ryan's going to need it. And Austin's going to need it. And Cedric's going to need it. And all your pitchers are going to need it. And so what do? The Orioles are in a crazy spot, but they're going to have to take some of this talent, and they're going to have to go load up on pitching because we all know that you need pitching to succeed in the major leagues. You need pitching to win. They need to go get it. They don't have it right now.
No, and that's like what me and Matt have talked about on numerous occasions, is that's what has to be done. And even if it takes packaging, you know, two of the youth talents with a veteran that's up top, like a Mullins or something like that, then that not only, you know, you're opening a spot and getting, you know.
Who did Baltimore get from Milwaukee in that trade?
We got Corbin Burns and we sent DL Hall.
Okay. So you got DL Hall out of there. And that's the thing. I think the Orioles rushed DL Hall. I think they put him in a very bad situation. And they went starter, never go past 5. You throw 100 pitches every 5 innings, which is way too many. Try to strike everybody out because we promote that. Don't teach them how to get guys out in 3 pitches or less, or get guys out with contact, and then rush them to the big leagues because you strike everybody out in the minor leagues. And you're not going to do that in the big league level. They're a little bit better than that. And now I throw him in the pen, and he struggles out of the pen. Never really had taught him how to pitch. And then we're going to ship him off. Milwaukee got a good kid, but Milwaukee now they got to take this kid. I don't think he should be in the big leagues. They need to put him back down in the minor leagues, give him to Jeremy Accardo down there in AAA as the pitching coach, and let's teach him how to pitch to contact so that he can be the next 10 years in Milwaukee as a Corbin Burns was. But DL Hall's, he got put in a very bad situation, but he was the next coming of God in the Orioles system. He was the man. But again, when you don't teach people how to pitch and you teach them that striking everybody out is the way, this is the right way, this is how it's got to be, they're never going to be successful. And I feel bad for DL Hall because the guy has it.
He did. And before this current crop of minor leaguers that the Orioles have now, for years we heard about Grayson and DL. They were the two names that everybody talked about. And I remember when we called Grayson up, he got roughed around a little bit, and people were kind of wondering. And then they sent him back down to the minors, and it happened with Tyler Wells a couple of years ago, where he was up and down constantly. You know, so I know it can shake their confidence. You know, like I do agree with you though, Josh, because like you said, if they're going to call up Jackson, he needs to be in the lineup every single day. At second base, he has to be in that lineup every single day. And like you said, we're going to have to package some of these guys together that Tim was talking about, to where are you going to have Kobe Mayo down in AAA hitting 500-foot home runs when he could be up here? And it's facetious for anybody to think that they're going to come up and give AAA numbers in the major leagues off the bat, because they're seeing major league pitchers. There's a reason that guys are in AAA. It's to work on their stuff, or they're at that level in their ascension to the majors.
We hope so. We would think so, yeah.
Hopefully, yeah. That's how it should be for the most part. But Mayo's not going to come up here and hit 460. Jackson's not going to come up here and hit 333 in his first month with the Orioles. Do we want him to? Absolutely. But you alluded to it earlier, though, Josh. The expectations are high because it seems like these kids coming up and helping us win games accelerated that rebuild by a year or two, to where we were expecting the 85-win season this year and the 100-win season to come next year when the guys are matured a little bit. And here we are 2 years from the 83-win season, and last year we won 101, went to the ALCS. The only place to go is up, and that's the World Series. And right now, like you said, we don't have a rotation that can last in a World Series with somebody like the Dodgers or the Diamondbacks or the Phillies or anybody of that nature.
If we teach these guys how to pitch, if we trust them to go 7 innings, again, I always say this: if you want to know how to pitch the first inning of a postseason game with all the excitement and everything that it brings and the pressure, then you have to learn how to pitch the 8th and 9th inning of a regular season game. And we're not teaching them how to do that. The deeper I pitch in games, if I go the 8th, if I go 9 innings, it teaches me how to pitch the beginning of the game. It makes less stress on the beginning of the game. And it teaches me how to navigate through the game and how to save pitches, or how to pitch to a guy a certain way, to change it the second way to the third way. It teaches me how to manage the game. But again, when I don't have to go deep in games ever, I don't manage anything. I just throw, and then I'm out. And so again, there's a way to teach Dean Kramer and the rest of your boys how to pitch, and to set your bullpen up in a situation that it's a when needed. I'm going to put my 8th inning guy and 9th inning guy in a situation that they're ready. But when I have these guys, I got more relievers pitching more innings than starters. It's awful. We also need Batista too, man. He was a huge part of this. Like, I know you got a nice little fill-in closer, but he's not the answer as closer. We need Batista back as well.
Yeah, I agree. Tim, go ahead, bro.
I was just gonna say, and with this, I've been looking. I play with it all the time, and I talk to Matt about it. Is with getting a couple of these minor league guys that are talented and mixing them up with a veteran that we have for some kind of trade, but like, who could we go after? And I keep coming back, and I wanted to know, because I know you're familiar with everybody, Josh. The kid Griffin Jacks out of Minnesota. He's being donned as the king of the slide this year. He's a reliever. That's like his little nickname that Minnesota's putting on shirts this year. But he's got this nasty slider, this unbelievable slider. Yep. So they're calling him the king of the slide. But he
way to put pressure on me that every time I throw a slider, it's supposed to be successful. I can never get my hand on a slider. Wow. All right.
But I wanted to kind of ask, like, when it comes down to trading like that, do you see teams more willing to make an offer as the trade line approaches when they know that they're, like, statistically out of it for the year? Or are most, managers and owners looking at it long term when they know they have a good guy, they want to keep him safe, they keep him locked down, and they're not entertaining talks? Or is it, are teams willing to bite on the, okay, we're out of it this year, let's make a deal?
The GM job it's a crazy job, right? Because you always got to be, 3 years ahead of right now. You got to live in the future. You have so much work to do. It's tough. I'm not a big fan of, like, and I know sometimes you have to, but I'm not a big fan of, like, why wait till July when everybody's going to start offering trades? Why wait to see where you're at when you can put yourself in the spot now? Go make a trade now. Why wait? You have all the depth in the world. Go make a trade now. Catch all the world off guard. Let your division know you're not screwing around. We're here to play, and we're here for a long time. And go make a trade now. But why wait and give somebody else a shot at getting that guy before you? Why wait and have to give up more because now you have somebody bidding against you? Why give teams you're trying to give somebody more leverage? Go get an offer now for somebody you have. Get them in your system. Let them get those 30, those 25 starts with your organization, under your guidance, with your catchers, with your team. Now let them feel a part of it. And tell the division again, like, the Yankees are pretty good. Boston's not bad. Tampa's always in it, right? Like, your division's good. So, like, why? I just don't understand the why waiting thing when you know that this division is now, they're the National League East, right? Like, they're arguably the best division in baseball, and it could be, and it will be for a long time. And it has been, by the way, for a very long time.
And the price is only going to go up the closer.
I just don't understand in today's world, with the way it is with this division, all these teams, why do I want to wait when I have more bargaining chips than I've ever had in my life with how much talent we have in this minor league system? You can go get two aces across baseball currently right now, and you still are going to have the best farm system in baseball.
I do want to ask you about the farm, Josh, and Tim and I talk about this a lot. We seem to be growing bats at an alarming rate in terms of how good a lot of these hitters are. Because we talk about the guys like Mayo and Stowers and Kerstad and, Jackson. And then there's guys like Dylan Beavers right behind him, a power hitting right fielder. You have Enrique Bradfield Jr., who we just drafted this year, who is, a future prospect in center field. But we're not really talking about a whole lot of arms in the minor leagues for the Orioles right now. We seem to be position player and hitter heavy. Is that an alarming situation to where you might know more about the minor league guys because of your connects and all that, but all we ever hear about is Cade Povich and Chase McDermott, but we don't hear about anybody else.
Pitching wise.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't ever see you guys really develop pitchers. We've been hearing about Grayson forever. We heard about DL Hall, but you guys haven't been taking your first overall picks as pitchers, right? Like, Yeah, I think that there needs to be more development. That's what I'm saying. You have so deep in hitting prospects all over. Did you guys see that stat line the other day where they put up 26 runs in AAA?
Oh, yeah.
And one dude drove in 10 runs and everybody had 5 hits. It was the sickest line I've ever seen. You have that at almost every level. You are so deep in hitting. Go trade for the best pitchers, veteran pitchers, the best you can go get right now. Go get them. Go get them. Because you need that to win. Look at the Blue Jays. If it wasn't for that pitching staff last year, they never make the playoffs. That offense isn't very good. They had a couple good names. No one hits over there. They're not hitting now. And the only reason they're competitive is because of the veteran pitching staff that they have. The Orioles, you get guys have been hurt. You borrowed Corbin Burns for a season. You're not – Grayson Rodriguez is – I don't know. Hopefully he's a stud, but – they need to go get – is Dean Kramer your long-term guy or is Dean a 4 or 5? Like, they need to go trade some of this hitting prospect for a pitching prospect because I don't see anything that's going to come up. And pitching is harder to have a direct impact in the big leagues right away for a winning team than it is for hitters. I can mix in these young kids throughout the course of a batting order and defensively, but pitching, you can't do that. And so, again, I don't see enough pitching prospects in the Orioles organization when you guys are a winning team right now that I think they need to go trade and get who's ever on the block and go make somebody on the block. Go make them. The team didn't think they're on the block. They're on the block now because everybody needs somebody. There's more scouts at Orioles minor league games than there is anywhere else in the world because they're deep.
If you can put your GM hat on again for a second and you're talking about going to making a trade, what major league pitcher right now fits what the Orioles are currently doing on the major league roster? If you had a chance to sit in that office, who are you going to get?
I don't know. Like I don't look at the game like close enough to where I have a lot of guys that are popping off the top of my head. But that dude Pablo Sandoval in Anaheim, like go get him. Like he's not going to cost a lot, I don't think, and I think that dude is legit. And he needs a place where he can show off how good he is, and he needs a place that's going to trust him and let him pitch. So I think on a free perspective, maybe like a number 3 guy or something, I think Pablo Sandoval would be an amazing guy to go get. And the Angels need prospects. It's not going to take a couple of them to go get. Like I think that would be an easy steal right now from the Angels.
We just saw him come to town 2 weeks ago.
He's legit. The Marlins got a couple guys. The Marlins are losing. You can tell that organization did nothing in spring training. Nope. The laziest things I've ever seen. But you got the Rogers kid. You got a couple guys that are really, really good. I know Pittsburgh probably won't give them up. And I'm talking middle of the pack guys. But the kid Perez over there in Pittsburgh that used to be with Texas, legit. He's a winning pitcher. Go get him. And then if you really want to make a splash, then there's a lot of other – I mean, look what the Braves did. The Braves are the best team. And they went and added Chris Sale. Good thing they did too, because guys get hurt. Strider got hurt. But they went and added an ace, man. They went and added a Cy Young guy. Like, go get them. There's guys out there. If we really started going over all these rosters, there's guys out there. Do the Royals ever win? They don't. But that dude Cole Reagans who pitched today, maybe yesterday, I don't know. That's one of the best young arms in the game. Go see if he's for sale. Because that's an ace waiting to happen. But no one knows about him. But Reagans is a dude. Or go and get somebody. I know the Phillies aren't giving up, but go find yourself a Wheeler or not Cole Hamels, Aaron Nola. Go find you somebody like that because, again, they're out there. They're all over the game. I'm just looking at some teams right now and trying to think of who's kind of out there. But dude, there's pitchers all around the game that are out there. But those guys right there are going to help you win right now.
And it was crazy because Tim and I were talking about it. We did a show right before the season started, Josh, and Jordan Montgomery staring us in the face.
Yep.
He's still out there. Now, I don't think anybody should sign him because he's turned down contracts. But
he's on the Diamondbacks.
What?
He's on the Diamondbacks.
Since when?
He signed last week with Arizona.
Didn't see it. How much did he get?
1 year, I think he got 24.
He really did that. He sat out to get 1 year. Dude, they're not giving these guys the money. And all of these, his agents, the same agent, they're not paying him anymore.
Is it Scott Morris?
Yeah, they're not paying Scott's guys, man. Look at that lame deal that Blake Snell, he turned down $160 million from the Yankees because you're afraid to pitch on the East Coast to a 1 year, $28 million deal. It's all it's really going to end up being. Like, what are we thinking? But yeah, right. Jordan was out there. Blake was out there. And those guys you had to pay for, they wouldn't even cost you anything. Go get them, dude. You have money. We watch the games. We go to the games in Baltimore. We have money, and you got a new owner.
Yep, new owner. That's what I was just going to add. Josh, speaking of new owner, and, we have holiday tonight, and, this is a Baltimore baseball chat, so I got to ask you because, some of the listeners probably when they're doing their research on you might come across the fact that you wore number 7 as a pitcher. Yeah. And at the time, being a single-digit pitcher was sort of rare. So if you had any interesting stories or funny things that might have happened or been said or mumbled to you about, the choice of that and rocking with that number 7, because,
Well, I didn't have it in Baltimore. In Baltimore, I had 35. And so I feel it's a little messed up that Adley didn't call me and ask me if he can use my number.
Hold, Josh, but before you answer the 7 question, when I interviewed you a couple years ago, you didn't know that you were getting 35 when you got to the major league roster. It was sitting in your locker, and that was you came up the year after Mussina left.
Yeah, right after.
And
they pegged me as like the next guy, as the next Mike Mussina. And so they gave me Moose's number. They were a little bitter at Moose for leaving too, I'll say that. But Mike came up to me when I faced him with the Yankees early in the season, and he asked me why I had it. And I said, Mike, man, it was in my locker. I said, listen, I said the same thing. Like, I don't think anybody should wear this number. To me, this is Mike Mussina's number, and it should be retired in Baltimore as Mike Mussina's number. And I said, Mike, if you don't want me to wear it, I'm not going to wear it. You're one of my favorite pitchers. I mean, I watch you. Like, I look up to you. And so if you don't want me to wear it, I'm taking it off. And he's like, no. I'm okay. I was just curious. And I was like, dude, listen, man, I'm glad you asked because I'm on your boat. I don't think it should be worn ever again. Then I got to Toronto, and when I got called up, we were in Yankee Stadium, and the only number they had brought was number 7. They had no other number there. And so Bob Ross told me, when we get to Toronto, I'll make you a new jersey. Just tell me what number you want, but this is all I have. And I was like, can I keep it? And he goes, yeah, why do you want it? And I was like, well, it's just a new start. I go, I'm not tied to numbers. So it's a new start. You guys gave me this new shot in the big leagues. And if it's cool, I would just like to keep it. And then I was like, we're at Yankee Stadium and Mickey Mantle wore it, so that's kind of neat. And so they're like, I had no idea that no one wore single-digit numbers, that pitchers didn't wear it. I had no clue. I just saw it as a fresh start in Toronto, so can I please have it? And then it turned out the pitchers don't wear it, and it was this big deal. But yeah, no, it was literally that simple to me.
While we're talking about your playing days, the last time that I talked to you, Josh, it hadn't happened yet, but they had the new second center field in Camden Yards. They pushed the left field fence back and raised it. Mm-hmm. You pitched it in Camden Yards when it was a hitter's ballpark, and the minute the humidity hit it, it feels like a simple pop fly could have flew over the fence. Do you wish that you would have had that 20 years ago when you were pitching in Camden?
Well, yeah. I mean, the simple answer is yeah. We all want to pitch in San Diego. We all want to pitch in Oakland. Nobody wants to pitch in Fenway or New York, except for to say that I pitched in Fenway, New York. But honestly, why would I want to pitch somewhere where there's no foul territory and balls jump and hitters get extra pitches per at bat? Like, I don't want that. Like, look, I saw a thing on all the home runs hit not home runs, outs or doubles that have been hit in Baltimore this year that were home runs in 100% of every stadium in baseball, just not Camden Yards. And so as a pitcher, I 100% want that. But again, when I played, we were still allowed to take steroids. We were using cork. Like, it didn't matter. You missed the barrel or you're not getting it back regardless. So it didn't really matter.
Cowser just had back-to-back wall snags off the monster.
Very nice.
2 in a row.
Very nice.
That's crazy. I like Cowser, and he's been playing rather well. He's getting into the lineup every day. Not to put you on the spot though, Josh, if you're looking at the current construct of the Orioles major league team right now, If you had to choose between Hayes and Mullins, who do you keep and who do you package to get an arm?
I can replace either one of them, to be honest with you. I think if I have to choose, I'm keeping Cedric for his defensive skills, right? Again, pitching and defense wins, and we're trying to win championships. So I don't care about the home run and average when I have the rest of these guys that are going to pick up the offensive slack, and Cedric can handle the bats, it's fine. But I need to make sure I'm getting these outs. And Baltimore's got a bigger outfield than anywhere else, and Cedric covers ground. So I'm keeping C.
That makes sense because last year, Hayes was an all-star. He batted around the low 300s in the first half of the year and then kind of tapered off.
Yeah,
but my only worry as an Orioles fan is that we haven't given Ced the extension yet. And he rode out the beginning part of the rebuild. He rode out the COVID year, and he had the 30-30 year a couple years ago. So it's kind of like we should have extended him already because now his name is starting to pop up locally as could he be on the move for a starter if things don't go well. And then the other side of that argument is he's not producing offensively the way that he used to. So what trade value does he have? So it's interesting you said Ced.
In 2020, he hit 271, and then the next year he hit 291, but that's it. Like 255 was the next highest. And I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what day. 250 is not a good hitter. I don't care. I know it's good in today's game, but let's expect more of ourselves, and I know he does. So he's not necessarily a star. He's also struck out over 100 times 3 years in a row the last 3 years. So it's like, is he that great offensively? To me, no, he's not. But again, is he willing to accept who he is and be the defensive guy we want? So there's got to be somebody that I don't pay. Like I can't pay everybody all this money to an extent. I don't think he's not I don't know what kind of money he wants, but he's not that valuable to me. If he wants 15 a year, they'll see you later. But then who's going to just necessarily want this guy? I know he made the All-Star team. You said last year?
It was a couple of years ago when his 30.
It was when he hit 291, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, he still had 125 RBIs. He hit 30 homers that year, but that also doubled any other year he's ever had. So he had a career year. And again, for us players, if that's the year to capitalize on a contract, that's it. But now the next couple of years after, we've kind of settled down and shown who he is. He's not getting a contract with Baltimore.
That's honestly a fair assessment, Tim. We haven't heard that from anybody, really. I mean,
no.
The way you broke it down, that's
and of course, like what we hear is all fan base. So because he's a name, because he's a jersey, there's that attachment to him. But when you look at it from a front office perspective and a statistical perspective, it's like we've already discussed. We have the offensive weapons and some defensive weapons literally sitting in the minors who are essentially free right now. So you pay the big guy Mullins when you have literal free replacements that are also performing at a high level.
Do you know how many hits he had last year?
I don't off the top of my head.
Do you know how many games played he had last year?
He was hurt a lot.
He played 116 games.
Yep.
He had 94 hits. It's just not going to get it done if you want a contract.
That's not even hit a game. Wow.
Right.
Wow.
A great player. I love the guy. But again, it's like as a front office, as somebody who's putting this organization together, the fans just want winners. We do get attached to players, and it's great. And as players, we get attached to stadiums and towns and ushers and fans as well. But we, as a GM, like I got to put my friendship aside. There's the line, business and pleasure, and I have to keep it separate. And if you're asking me these questions, I got to put my like for players and my want for all of them to get paid. And as much as I like Cedric Mullins, like I have to be honest from that perspective. It's just the way it is. There's no dislike for any of these guys. I love them all. But if we're talking about a business and how it's about the Orioles, right? And it's about how the Orioles can win now and win for a long time. It's not about my attachment to one specific player.
That's fair. So, Tim, before we wrap the show up, Tim, is there anything else you want to ask Josh?
No, I actually was thinking about it earlier, and just because of the little bit of a rocky start that the O's got off to from the perspective of somebody that is warming up with the pitchers, practicing with the pitchers, is sitting in the bullpen or sitting in the dugout on your off days. When you have an offense, you're part of a team where an offense is going through a slump, like a struggle. I mean, just to put it like in a number perspective for you, the hitters over the last 6 games, the Pirates and the Royals series where we went 3-3, they were 40 for 201 with a 199 average, and they were 8 for 47 with runners in scoring position. Boils down to a .170 average. And it's like, from the bullpen, from the pitcher's perspective, what do you do? What do you say? What are your day in and day outs to kind of keep or light a spark under that offense? So
But that's my point, right? We're a team. And so if every level of our team picks up each other, if the pitching picks up the offense, if the defense always picks up the pitching, if the hitting picks up the pitching, we're a team. And so the way I see it is, you scored 2 runs, you scored 5 runs, 2 runs, 4 runs, and 5 runs. Well, all of those are enough runs for me to win the game. So if my pitching and defense does their job, I just need 1, right? So my offense doesn't have to score 7. If I need 7 runs a game to win, we're never going to win. It's not the reality. And so score me 2, score me 4. Just keep me in it. Baltimore, their pitching gave them a chance. They lost 3-2, they lost 5-4, and they won 5-2.
Yep.
So they had a chance to win. So what does that mean? That means that we have to do better pitching, that we have to do better defensively, or it means stop trying to hit the 3-run double and move them over and get them in like Jackson did. Even though he was trying to go deep, he was trying to hit one, get a base hit. He still hit the ball to the right side. He still moved the guy to third and scored the other guy. And so my guy on deck still had a position or an opportunity to drive a run it. Do the little things. Get the guy over. Get him in. Play the 1-run games. Like, there's a time and place to let it eat, and there's a time and place to give up my bat. And if we're all willing to do that, then we're going to win baseball games, because you're going to go through slumps. I'm going to struggle. If I have 34 starts, I'm going to struggle on a few of them where it's just not my day. And if I have 600 at bats, I'm going to have a couple of weeks where I'm going to struggle. I'm not always going to be there. But the 2 and 3 hole, 4 hole might be struggling, but 7, 8, 9 hole might be picking them up. The starters might be struggling, but the bullpen might be picking them up that day, right? The offense might be struggling, but the starters might be going 7 and the bullpen set in the right position and they're picking them up. So again, it's the reliancy on my offense has to score is a failed endeavor, and we're never going to win, man. Like, my job as a pitcher is to take the stress off the offense, to feel like they have to, and make them feel like they don't have to, so that they can stay relaxed and go through their struggles. It's easier to go through struggles when we win. I'll tell you that much. I don't want to lose and them go through struggles, because then every time they go to hit, they feel like they have to hit a double. They have to hit a home run. I don't need my offense feeling like that.
There you go, man. Hey, Josh, I want to thank you so much, man, for being patient through the technical difficulties. Thank you so much for joining the show. Tim and I we're so excited to have you on. Let everybody know where they can follow you on social media. I know that you're in the real estate industry. Maybe they can use your services. Let everybody know.
Yeah, man. I definitely do mortgage loans. I'm licensed in every state. So if anybody ever needs me in Maryland, I got my license there too.
Fun fact, Josh, I'm in title. I'm on the opposite side.
Oh, you are? There you go. Yeah. So obviously Twitter, I run my mouth a lot about baseball. I probably shouldn't. And that's basically it. I mean, I do private baseball stuff here, but just the mortgages and saying dumb stuff on Twitter. That's really it, man.
There you go. Tim, let everybody know where they can find you, man.
You guys know T_Malarkey on Twitter. Pretty much the same thing as Josh. You'll see me spitting off random baseball facts and probably saying some things that I shouldn't say that'll come back to haunt me in 20 years, but it is what it is. It is what it is.
That's a wrap for all thing Baltimore sports. We'll be back next week with our O show, Tim. We'll be back on Tuesday night or Wednesday. We'll wrap up the next 2 series. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in.